and you'll see the results.
Doing this today because
You gotta believe that your efforts won't go in vain.
hi, Luca, good morning.
Because when you're consistent,
You good?
you'll see the results.
So, like I was saying, that you see
You got to believe
that
in hard work.
live picture there with the pen.
When your action speaks for you,
I'm gonna change that.
then you'll see the results.
To my mom. Because my
You got to believe you can also achieve. When you're all in, you'll see the results.
There.
You gotta believe in hard work. When you stay hopeful and back it up with putting in the hours, you'll see the results. You can do it. All it takes is hard work.
Gonna see how that comes out, right, Luca? Luca, but let go my leg. I know you want attention right now, but hold on, dude. Alright, let me see if I can take that one off and get it down from there, and that way we can start this. There. So, at the same time that I'm doing this, I'm listening to the news. So let's see. All right, guys.
A 2020 study found that installing play and learn spaces in Philadelphia libraries boosted attendance in children's programs by nearly 190%.
So this comes out. This is the
Attendance has seen a 20%
control
jump
for
in
it.
just
I
the
gotta
last
put
4
the
months.
batteries.
For Luna and June,
This
it's been a
comes
game
out.
changer. They've gone
This
from reading
comes
around
out.
10 books a week to
This
nearly
comes out.
30. Because around here, the only
Alright.
thing being shelved is the old idea of what a library
That's pretty cool for the kids.
E-Time
Alright, that goes there.
Morgan Hill,
Leave it alone, Luca. This is what we got here.
People in the library. It's a library. Let's be quiet. Hey, get off my lawn. And in our next
Okay.
live hour, the top stories,
This is
including
the
what we
thing
know
that
about
holds
President
it up.
Trump's plans to possibly launch a landstrike
There,
against
this
Venezuela,
is
and
the
what Secretary
cover.
Nixon is saying about a controversial strike
Alright.
on alleged drone boat. All that and the rest of the day's top stories is coming up next.
Jesus Christ, they keep repeating the same thing from that boat that they blew. I would like to know how the heck these people, they knew that
We take the entire
It
family to
was a
Bucks County
drug.
every year for the holidays.
a boat that was passing by.
On what matters
I
most.
mean, how the
The
heck?
kids never run out of things to do. They even seem
Well,
to get along most
you
of the
know.
time.
Okay,
Surrounded by
let
history,
me get my
beauty, and family. It's just pure magic.
connector that goes with it.
Getting away never felt so at home.
No
Watch free national and local news on Prime Video.
batteries.
The newsmakers right here facing all the tough questions.
We've got you covered every step of the way.
Anyway, we gotta get down here. These are the batteries.
From changing skies to market shifts,
Around the world, this is BBC News.
Okay.
covering all the stories that matter to you. News, your app.
Hey guys, so whenever I need
Yeah,
more space in my wardrobe, I
yeah,
sell
yeah.
everything I
I'm
don't
gonna
wear
start
anymore
doing
on
that
Vinted.
too.
It's an app for secondhand fashion.
Yeah,
I can
because I got a
business
lot
fashion,
of
my
clothes,
second
a lot of
life. When you wear
stuff
them. And best of all, there are no
that they
sellers,
still
so
got the
everything you need
tag
is yours.
brand new
So
that I
on
don't
Vinted,
use.
you just take a picture of the item you want to sell
And
and
whatever I
upload
don't
it.
use
And
and
since you set the
shoes
price
and
you
all
go,
that
that
stuff,
means
I'm
they're
gonna
what you want.
start selling
So
too because
what are you
I
waiting for? Download the Vinted app.
I barely
today.
use I don't
If you don't
use
wear it, sell it.
So anyhow. Okay, we got the remote. Oh my gosh, this is pretty cool. Wow. Alright. We got that there. Let me see.
To make more sustainable shopping choices.
Dad, what do you think of that? Is that
Hold on, Luca.
What I think what?
do you think Mom will like this?
Ooh. Let's meet and see.
What do you think about it?
What does that mean? It means it has
That's pretty cool if that does that.
Features
I haven't
with a
checked
wide
that out.
selection of holiday gifts.
Okay,
Here's a little way to create some big gift-giving
let's
magic.
real quick
With Amazon
before I
Lens,
start
shop
working on
anything
that.
you see. Ooh, spot your bestie
When
dream
mom
decor out
comes
in the
back
wild.
home,
Just capture it
she's
and search
gonna
it.
be surprised
Look
of
for
me
things to get for your
chain.
dog. Before it walks off. Go ahead, get those shoes for your sister. Or yourself. Whatever brings you holiday joy. See it, shop it with Amazon Lens.
At Amazon, we're helping customers make more sustainable choices.
I don't know if I should
Save up to
become
15%
partners
using
with
subscribe and save on your favorites.
sell
Shop
my
Amazon for the
items
largest
on
selection of
Amazon
holiday
instead.
essentials for all your family needs. We're half an hour.
The CBS Evening News.
Hi everyone, I'm Vladi Medjiti. It is 10 a.m. here on the East Coast, and for the next hour, only on this hour, we're going to be following all the top stories from all across the country and around the world with our team of reporters, correspondents, producers, writers, everyone who can contribute to what we're doing here at CBS News 24/7.
So what happened?
Let's jump right into it. There's escalating tensions in the Caribbean. What President Trump is saying about potential land strikes in Venezuela as the administration cracks down on suspected drug boats. Plus, no major breakthrough in Russia, but what did come out of that nearly
Alrighty then.
between U.S. officials and President Putin. Plus, the FBI is investigating a rash of violent threats aimed at Republican lawmakers in Indiana.
Oh, I need
the next half hour with details of the incidents. This is CBS News 24/7 Morning. Also happening at this hour, the U.S. is reportedly going to end a centuries-long partnership with the Boy Scouts. We're going to explain why and how the group is responding. And DHS has formally launched its immigration crackdown in New Orleans. Our Katie Weiss is there with a look at the operation. And a bitter cold is moving across parts of the U.S. CBS News New York meteorologist John
Luca, you left
here
your...
tracking the record cold temperatures. But we begin this hour with the growing and bipartisan
Go get it.
concern
Where
the
is
US
it?
may have committed
I
a
threw
war
it to
crime
you.
on
Look at it right
suspected
here.
drug traffickers. The September 2nd strike was the first of what's become a months-long military
Alright.
conflict. Yesterday, both the president and the defense secretary defended the operation during a high-level cabinet meeting, but they also claimed neither were aware or monitoring that situation during perhaps the most controversial moment of the attack. So let us begin with CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. So we seem to learn more and more about this,
Alrighty then, we
Olivia,
got this.
every day. And now it strikes me that the Secretary of Defense is constantly dropping the name of the admiral who carried out, who's operationally in charge of those strikes. And it does feel as if it's sort of, on one hand, suggesting that he supports this admiral, and on the other hand, sort of throwing him out there.
Well, good morning, Vlad. It's good to see you again this morning. It's certainly notable. There's been a shifting timeline here about this story. First, it was fabricated and not true. Now the White House confirms there was indeed a second strike. And then yesterday, we heard from the president and Secretary Hegseth seated together in that cabinet meeting, where President Trump said, one, he didn't even know about the second strike, but two, also defending Hegseth, saying he did not know it was targeting people in the water. Secretary Hegseth then said that Admiral Bradley, who he says carried out the attack, has his full support as he goes through these next round of congressional inquiries about this entire saga on September 2nd that involved several strikes on alleged drug boats coming out of Venezuela.
That's a lie,
also said he was not sure and did not see any survivors in the water after he witnessed the first strike on this Venezuelan boat due to, quote, the fog of war. But none of this seems to be satisfying the lawmakers on Capitol Hill. They plan to question Admiral Bradley tomorrow. That will be Republicans and Democrats on the Armed Services Committees in both chambers of Congress. And certainly notable that this will be happening because lawmakers have not given any indication to this White House that they are going to authorize action against Venezuela. So just in this ongoing timeline of what has gone on with these strikes regarding Venezuelan alleged drug boats.
Yeah.
See what we
Olivia, thank you
got.
very much. For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie Daggett. So Charlie, the Secretary first of all, I have to take issue with the fact he continued to say that, when he said the fog of war, when he gets criticized or gets asked difficult questions, he tends to lash out at the media. And he went on to say, you would understand that from your air-conditioned offices. Well, I, for one, have been covering conflicts for a lot longer than he was ever an active service member, and not from an air-conditioned office. And there are plenty of people in the press corps who have done the field work and know what it's like to try to get this information. The fog of war itself, yes, that's a real thing. But specifically when you're talking about those strikes, whether or not you saw a survivor,
Go get it.
look, I'm not going to question him on what he saw, but in terms of where it took place,
Okay.
that would have been
You know that you're not supposed to be talking loud in the house.
and sometimes it's control. It's when you share that information. What you're seeing there with the unclassified part of it, and there'll be some areas that are fogged out. You're going to have a time code on it. You're going to have a location. You're going to have the number of times when exactly
I know that
they
you're
happened.
talking,
Because
but
what he
don't
was asked
talk
is
too
whether
loud.
he knew, first of all, there are survivors on board, and secondly, when the second strike or strike
You got the tequila bottle, huh?
that particular fact. And he said he didn't know or didn't remember or whatever that case was. But the fact that the information does exist, it should be irrefutable. The fact that he may not know about it or wants to share it, that's down to him.
Yeah, it should be very interesting too, Charlie. as
Look
you know,
at
when,
cute,
an admiral
freaking
appears
out.
before some members of Congress to answer their questions. I hope that we get a readout of that or that the press is invited. And speaking of the relationship between this administration
Let me
and the
get it,
press,
Luca.
what do you know about these briefings that have been going on this week with the Pentagon's newly approved press report? In other words, the press report that they approved.
Dude, but
they
you want me to play with you?
they report on the activity.
Okay, these are the
Right, well,
clues.
yesterday's briefing that took place with the Pentagon spokesperson, Kingsley, sort of lashed out at legacy media, the media that was there, of which there are probably 70 or 80 individuals. We're talking about us, CNN, ABC, New York Times, pretty much across the board, and some of the military trade publications and magazines too. So it's not just what they would term legacy media, but some of the specialist media that have been covering that in some cases for decades.
Got it.
So now,
Go get it.
to go to those briefings, using the form that the Pentagon has asked us, the DoD has asked us to fill out, specifically stating when we want to go, what we want to cover, etc. So we learned that 2 briefings were going to take place. One of them was on camera yesterday. Another one today with Defense Secretary Hegseth. That will be a gaggle, so off camera but on record gaggle. Once again, we have been denied access to that as well. So we're going to have to follow our colleagues inside the building to be able to report on what was said.
All right, Charlie. And Charlie, just from my own personal knowledge, the Pentagon's press person, Kingsley, had she done any in-person briefings on camera up until this moment?
No.
So this was her first in front of a friendly, essentially, press corps.
Handpicked, yes.
Handpicked. All right, Charlie Daggett reporting from our bureau in Washington, where he continues to do the work.
Nice.
Charlie, thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
All right, let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey Burns to talk more about this. So, Caitlin, the admiral at the center of all of this, as we just discussed with Charlie, is set to give a briefing to Congress tomorrow about these strikes. What's expected?
Well, Glenn, he's the person that everybody up here on Capitol Hill wants to hear from because of the way the administration is essentially pointing the fingers at him at this point. Now, both sides of the aisle have been calling for more information, more answers to the many questions that they have. This is both Republicans and Democrats. We talked to a lot of lawmakers yesterday, and I want to play a couple of pieces of sound of what we heard from them.
I think there's a broad consensus that it's illegal to kill people who are claiming directly.
Let me be very clear. Killing shipwreck survivors is a war crime. Instead of accepting responsibility for what happened, Hegseth chose to throw Admiral Bradley under the bus. Shame on Pete Hegseth.
And this is the 4th piece.
Now, Vlad, I want to underscore something that Rand Paul told us yesterday. You just heard from him in that clip there, the Republican. You know that Rand Paul has been kind of an anomaly in Republican Party politics by talking about what he sees as the illegality of these strikes in the first place. And what he said is that he said either Hegseth, the defense secretary, is lying or doesn't know what's going on and is incompetent. So either way, in his view, there are some real consequences here that need to be made. Now, the other thing to consider is that Congress has essentially removed itself from getting involved in oversight here for several years now, predating Trump.
I would like to know whether I
had
get
a
the
small
book
group of
this.
lawmakers, including Rand Paul, want to reassert Congress's authority with something like the War Powers Act. That, remains to be seen whether that would gain any traction here. But bottom line, this briefing tomorrow is just going to be huge because lawmakers, both Republicans and Democrats, want to hear exactly what happened. They want a timeline. They also want to know what Hegseth, what his version of the story is. Also, this will be the first time that they are getting this kind of information. They want to see the video, they want to see the audio, and most of them will move on from there. There are two camps of Republicans, I will say, those rushing to the administration's defense, and others who do have serious questions about this and more broadly about the issue.
We'll be watching tomorrow. Caitlin Burns for us on the Hill. Caitlin, thank you. All right, turning now to efforts to bring the war to an end in Ukraine. Face-to-face talks between Russian leader Vladimir Putin and U.S. negotiators Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner ended yesterday without a breakthrough. More on this, I'm joined by CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Asensio from our London. So, Ramy, where do we go from here?
Yeah, Vlad. Well, pushing this ahead, there may be disappointment on the part of Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky because he was reportedly scheduled to meet Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner today in Brussels, fresh out of their talks with Putin and his senior aides. Instead, they left Moscow last night and they headed back to Washington. A couple lines that have just dropped, though, is that Ukraine's top negotiator, will continue.
Okay, let me put this box here, and then I can throw it out.
Leaders, national security advisor, and then they will make plans to get to the United States to try to speak with Trump's envoys there. I don't see a timeline right now, but that apparently is according to the plan from Vladimir Zelensky himself. As for what happened in Moscow, everyone's wondering, right? And the details are not clear. But what we do know is that the territorial issue is the number one issue, whether you ask Moscow or whether you ask Kyiv. As you see on your map there, about 20% of Ukraine's territory is what Russian military holds and which it wants Ukraine to abandon. But Putin's senior aide, Yuri Ushakov, said that this is the number one issue naturally for them, but there's no public detail yet on any more from that. But as for next steps, the Kremlin says it's wrong to say that Putin has rejected the peace plan that we're talking about so far. And as we look ahead to what comes from that Ukrainian delegation, if they do make it over to Washington, Vlad, no we'll get from Washington side as well.
All right, Ramy Asensio reporting from London for us. Ramy, thank you very much.
Of course.
Alrighty then.
CBS News New York meteorologist John Elliott is here with the big weather
Luca.
Multiple stories.
All right.
Stuff going on.
I took this off.
North Carolina. Oh boy.
Let me set this here for now.
Through the lakes.
I
Obviously,
gotta
this is
clean
going to
that.
add to already those.
That goes to the other room.
That is also going to reinforce the chill. So you've got
Hold
additional
on.
snow,
Let me see
even in parts of the Ohio Valley. I want to stress that. Taking a trip out west, we're looking at the possibility of up to 18 inches of snow. Obviously, the context there.
Okay, so we
This
got
is good
one.
for the snow business, for recreation, and you have the resources. But look at some of the model guidance for the southeast. This is 3 days worth of data. We're anticipating possibly over half a foot of rain. So when you add that to the cold air that's going to be placed, do not adjust your streaming device because as this streams into parts of the Carolinas, it meets that cold air. So
Alright, so we
from the
gotta
Cumberland
take
Plateau to
that
the
out.
North Carolina
And
and Virginia,
then-
you're looking at snow, and this is all because the cold air is just cascading out of Canada and it continues to push to the south. So just make sure that you're ready for snow in parts of the southeast and cold air with record lows for many around the country. And it's
Jesus
not a quick hit.
Christ.
You got to remember, this is day after day after day of very dangerous
New
cold
Orleans
air.
está
So
cuánto?
yeah, get ready to shovel in Raleigh.
Oh,
So, John, always good to have you, my friend. Raleigh getting snow. Oh boy.
wow.
11 years.
Dollars
after
went down
disappearance, the
to
search
the temperature.
for MH370 resumed. We're going to bring you the details of the latest effort to find that missing Malaysia Airlines flight.
Luca, que tú estás masticando ahí.
Something that
Huh?
nobody's excited
Let
about.
me see what you got in your mouth. Open your mouth.
With Wonder. And get what everyone craves in one order.
Get up. Stand up.
Come forward. Your country demands your
You're not
services.
supposed to be eating that. That's not good for you.
These are the times
Luca, that's garbage.
that tried men's souls.
Alright.
Our cause is the cause of all mankind.
Oh, come on.
That tried men's souls.
Is the cause of all mankind.
Oh boy.
What's for dinner? This.
Alright, let me see.
With a saffron bonus. With Wonder. And mix and match dishes from 20 plus mouth-watering chef-crafted menus in one order.
You never miss a tip off. This NBA League Pass on Prime has all the action. Follow your favorite
Shit,
teams.
me tenés que usar la escalera de limón.
Watch up to 4 live games with multi.
Alright, I gotta change. Cambiar la escalera esta. Porque es muy bajita para mí. Yo que soy bajita. Déjame ir a preguntarle y bueno, a ver si me pueden prestar.
Hey guys, so whenever I need more space in my wardrobe, I sell everything I don't wear anymore on Vinted.
Good for you.
And fashion. I can get special cash by giving my clothes a second life. Win-win.
Alright, hold on.
So everything
Let me switch
sells
this.
on Vinted. You just take a picture of the item you want to sell and upload it. And since you set the price, you've got a better chance to earn back what you want from it. So what are you waiting for? Download the Vinted app today. If you don't wear it, sell it.
Tell me about her little.
Best kid ever. Not afraid to ask anything.
You still play football?
Did you cry for the first game?
That just meant I was ready.
What becomes possible when we show up?
Gotta go down to the third floor.
We show up, not
Yes.
but fully. With
Hi.
time, with care.
You got this.
My little Luca. Alright, Luca. Let me go downstairs and get down. Hold on.
Save up
Hold
to
on.
15% by using subscribe
Let me
and
go
save
and
on your
get
favorites.
something real quick. I'll
Shop
be
Amazon
right
for
back.
the widest selection of everyday essentials for all your family needs.
Oh,
The CBS Evening News.
Luigi Mangione will
on.
be back in court tomorrow in a series of pre-trial hearings for the state case against him. The 27-year-old, of course, is accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson 1 year ago.
Oh my God, they
These
keep
hearings will
talking
determine
about
which
that damn
evidence will be
thing.
allowed during his
Alright.
murder trial.
Luca, I'll be right
Yesterday,
back.
a police officer who arrested Mangione at a Pennsylvania McDonald's testified. Courtroom watch is
I'll be
body
right back.
camera
Hold on.
video of that encounter. So I want to bring in CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman. So yeah, let's talk about this moment where the folks in the courtroom, and you were sitting there because I saw on your Instagram there was a picture of you almost in the front row. What that was like witnessing Mangione watching body cam footage of his arrest.
I mean, it was a surreal scene, Vlad. Mangioni's in the courtroom. He was very attentive, looking at all this footage, sometimes kind of looking over as the questioning was going on, talking to his lawyers. But the body cam footage itself, it was just a
bizarre scene. There are Christmas songs playing the entire time.
Like in the background?
In the background of this McDonald's,
Yeah.
where police officers came, they had responded to a call, and this officer who was testifying said he didn't think this was really the New York shooter. He actually made a joking bet with his lieutenant. The lieutenant said, "If you get the New York gunman, I'll buy you a hoagie."
You can hear this on the...
No. He told us about this.
Okay, right. Wow.
And the guy said, "Consider it done." But he said he didn't really think he was responding to a serious call.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or the
But
suspect.
he said as soon as he got there, he asked this guy to take down a mask. And he said in Altoona, people don't wear masks. So he immediately knew who the person was in that restaurant that had been called about. And he said once he took down the mask, he immediately knew it was Luigi. This officer said he watched a lot of Fox News. He had seen the pictures of the suspect for Brian Thompson's murder. And then he just engaged him in casual conversation. They checked an ID that he gave. Mangione initially introduced himself as Mark Rosario and gave this New Jersey ID. While that was being checked by his partner, the officer is chatting with Mangione about his breakfast sandwich. Mangione's leaning in the back corner eating a hash
Just
brown.
casually, not
Very
looking
casual,
stressed, not
yeah.
looking worried.
The officer starts whistling on with Jingle Bells, which is playing in the background at one point. We hear Winter Wonderland. So it was just such a surreal scene to see in court. And then ultimately they confront Mangione, saying that they know it was a false ID.
Alright.
He identifies himself. It's his birthday. They end up arresting him, searching his backpack. And that's really what's at the heart of these hearings. But it's just been interesting to see all of this footage from this one officer, Detweiler, and the different police cameras, seeing moment by moment how all of this unfolded.
Are you able to time out the amount of time that it took between putting those handcuffs on Mangione and when they read him his Miranda rights? How much time elapsed, or is that part of the testimony?
Well, between when they first came in and when they read his Miranda rights, I believe it's about 19 to 20 minutes. I'm not sure what the handcuffs
So
are.
defense is arguing that, look, I'm not aware you are, but
Not better.
every interaction I've ever seen with the police, and even those on television, once you slap the cuffs on, you get read your Miranda rights. Why do you think that these police officers didn't do that, and how strong of a case does the defense have in getting whatever it is that
Now
they're
we
looking to get
talk.
tossed out because of
One,
this?
two,
The judge saying it's inadmissible.
I mean, they did read him his Miranda rights before they cuffed him. It was just that they engaged in all of this preliminary dialogue. So there were these conversations going on as they were waiting for the ID to be checked. The officer did frisk him.
Okay.
In court, we saw that Altoona, Pennsylvania has a policy that when they arrest someone, they can search their person, they can search their backpack. So they're saying that's a local policy. This officer says he's not familiar with the New York search and seizure law, which is different, Vlad. But this is what the defense is arguing. They're saying you knew that this was the suspect. You immediately thought you identified him. He was asking him questions like, have you been to New York recently? What were you doing there? Where are you from? So there was this conversation that was happening before they ever read him those rights.
Do they say to Mangione that they are arresting him?
At a certain point they do,
And,
yes.
and is that when they read him the Miranda rights? Or is there a moment where they say, we're putting you under arrest, and then minutes go by before they read him his Miranda rights, which would be tricky, right?
Yeah.
Like,
What happens, I don't know the exact timing on that, but essentially once they realize the ID is fake, once they confirm that, they say to him, if you give us a false identification again, you're going to be under arrest. He then identifies himself, and then they put him under arrest, read him his Miranda rights.
really fascinating. You were there for it all. Trina, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks,
Really
guys.
interesting reporting. All right, let's talk about the Affordable Care Act and those premium tax credits, which are currently set to expire at the end of this year. But there are two California congressmen from both sides of the aisle who are working together to pass legislation that would extend those subsidies. They made their case for the bill while appearing on The Takeout with Major Garrett last night. Listen.
Give me the quick
Okay.
nerd argument for
So-
your version of extending these enhanced tax credits. Kevin, go first.
Well, we got income caps, we've got anti-fraud measures, we've got
This is when you need a third hand.
to insurers, and so at the end of the day, it all nets out, and this is really nerdy, to the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. We're the only plan out there that actually saves taxpayers money while sparing Americans, 22 million Americans, this massive increase.
Sam, any other nerd points you want to make?
Well, I think Kevin said it well, but I would go even a step further. There's the only plan that actually pays for itself. We know it's going to cost money. Tax credits do. It's a tax expenditure. So if you're going to obviously protect 22 million Americans and millions of others who are concerned about rapidly rising premiums, You need to find a way to pay for it. We have done that and more. We're actually reducing the deficit.
I gotta study my guitar later.
Stream The Takeout with Major Garrett every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS News 24/7. San Francisco is suing 11 of the country's largest food producers in a first-of-its-kind lawsuit. It accuses companies like Kraft, Heinz, General Mills, and Nestle of making unhealthy products that taste so good we get addicted to them. CBS News Bay Area's Elizabeth Cook explains.
They're on nearly every shelf in nearly every grocery store across the country. Ultra-processed foods now make up over 50%.
Alright, let me see. Alright, guys. So,
to be harmful and addictive.
I removed this. I loosen up the screws in the side, and that way I can I see the screws there on that side, right there. And then I place these guys here to get them ready. It goes there. I need that. It's over there. Okay. Luca, watch it. Stop eating this white stuff. Gotta work on this to put it up there. I gotta take that one down first. I'm working on that. I loosen up the screws, so I gotta. This is the time that you need a third hand. But we're gonna improvise. Right, Luca? We're gonna improvise. And that way we can take that down and put it on the other room. It's switching from living room to bedroom. To be continued in a minute. Bye, guys. I'll be back. Let me do something real quick. And then we continue taking that light fixture fan down from the living room, transfer to the bedroom, to mom's bedroom, and I'll be back.